When you explain how to do something in everyday life, it usually sounds like a disjointed list. You might say, first you do this, and then they do that. But academic writing requires a strict, objective structure. You can convert any raw list of actions into a polished chronological paragraph. We have a reliable formula to get you there. To see how this works, we are going to look at the multi-stage industrial process of refining crude oil. Mastering this structure allows you to keep your reader focused exactly where they need to be, entirely on the action taking place, rather than the people performing it. The foundational rule of describing a process is strict chronological order. You must map the exact sequence of events exactly as they happen over time. For our crude oil example, we have to identify what happens at the start, what happens in the middle, and the end result. We can break the timeline down into 4 raw steps: pump the oil into a separator, clean the oil, send it to storage, and export it to the refinery. Without establishing this rigid chronological backbone first, your reader will get lost. Any process description will quickly collapse into narrative confusion. Once you have your steps, the most common mistake is linking them all together with the word then. Then we do this, then we do that. It becomes monotonous. This table provides a vocabulary bank of varied academic transition words that signal sequence. Notice the options on the left side, such as first, next, in addition, and after that. Let's apply these signposts to our oil flow chart. We lock first to the beginning of step 1, next for step 2, after that for step 3, and finally for the export step. Intentionally varying these structural signposts creates a natural reading flow. It guides the reader through the timeline without sounding like a robotic, repetitive list. Look at this photograph. If we write "workers pumped oil," we are using the active voice. This distracts the reader by putting the narrative focus directly on the human operators rather than the oil itself. To achieve academic objectivity, we use the passive voice. This is a grammatical tool used specifically to delete the doer from the narrative. Here is the passive formula: object plus be verb plus past participle. For our first step, workers pump crude oil shifts workers drops off. Crude oil slides forward, becoming is pumped. We apply this to the rest: is cleaned, is sent, and is exported. Mastering the passive voice maintains an objective tone, ensuring that the industrial process itself remains the star of the sentence. A professional paragraph uses an architectural frame to unify a list of chronological instructions. That frame begins with a topic sentence. Its function is to clearly introduce the overarching process being described before any of the specific steps begin. Looking at this organizational writing frame, you can see the top block for the topic sentence. Down at the bottom is the concluding sentence, which serves to definitively state the final product or result of the entire process. We can apply this exact frame to our oil refining steps. We introduce the process of crude oil refinement at the top, drop our 4 chronological steps into the middle, and state the final destination of the exported oil at the end. Adding this specific bookend structure takes those disparate instructions and binds them together into a cohesive, self-contained academic paragraph. Here is how the complete process reads. The refinement of crude oil is a complex industrial process. First, crude oil is pumped into a separator. Next, the oil is cleaned. After that, it is sent to a storage tank. Finally, the crude is exported to the refinery by pipeline or tanker, ready for consumer use. Looking closely at this complete text, you can see the mechanics at work. Our sequence words smoothly guide the timeline, and our passive verbs maintain complete objectivity from start to finish. Now it is your turn. Select a familiar process from your own life, like making a meal or completing a daily task at work. Draft a 5-sentence paragraph applying these sequence words and the passive voice formula to see the impact on your descriptive clarity.